Alabama. Deep in the pine forests and cotton fields of the deep south lives a bird most people mistake for a woodpecker at first glance, until it opens its wings and flashes a burst of golden yellow beneath them. This is the northern flicker, known here by an older nickname, the yellowhammer, and it carries a story that has nothing to do with feathers. During the Civil War, Confederate soldiers from Alabama trimmed their uniforms with yellow cloth, and their comrades began calling them yellowhammers after the bird's bright wing linings. The name stuck to the men, then to the state itself, and by 1927 lawmakers made the connection official, naming the flicker Alabama state bird. Unlike most woodpeckers, this one prefers hunting ants on the ground over hammering trees, using its slightly curved beak to probe the soil. It remains one of the few state birds tied not to beauty alone but to a piece of wartime memory that still echoes in Alabama's identity as the yellowhammer state. Alaska. Far above the tree line, where winter turns the tundra into an endless sheet of white, a small grouse survives conditions that would kill most birds within hours. The willow ptarmigan spends its life shifting between two entirely different coats, mottled brown and grey in summer to vanish among rocks and shrubs, then pure white in winter to disappear into snow. Feathers even grow over its feet, acting like natural snowshoes that let it walk across drifts without sinking. Alaska's schoolchildren chose this bird in the 1950s, drawn to its ability to endure the same brutal cold that shapes life across the state. Unlike birds that flee south when temperatures drop, the willow ptarmigan digs into snowbanks for warmth and rides out entire blizzards underground. Its resilience mirrors something Alaskans take pride in themselves, a refusal to be driven out by a landscape that offers no mercy to the unprepared. Arizona. In a landscape where nearly everything seems built to keep animals away, spines, thorns, and scorching heat, one bird found a way to turn the desert's weapons into a fortress. The cactus wren, North America's largest wren species, builds its nest directly inside chala and saguaro cacti, using the needle-sharp spines as a shield against snakes and hawks. Its call sounds less like a song and more like an engine struggling to start, a harsh, rattling buzz that carries across the Sonoran Desert for long distances. Adopted as the state bird in 1931, the cactus wren thrives where water is scarce and shade is rare, drawing most of its moisture from the insects and cactus fruit it eats rather than drinking. Few creatures illustrate the art of desert survival as clearly as this small, speckled bird, and its presence on saguaro-studded hillsides has become one of the defining images of the American Southwest. Arkansas. On a spring morning in the Ozarks, a single bird might sing the songs of a dozen different species before sunrise, switching effortlessly between a robin's whistle and a hawk's cry. The northern mockingbird earned its name honestly, capable of learning and reproducing the calls of other birds, and even mechanical sounds like squeaky gates or car alarms. Lawmakers in Arkansas selected it as the state bird in 1929, impressed by both its vocal talent and its fearless personality, since mockingbirds will dive-bomb cats, dogs, and even humans that wander too close to a nest. Males can sing for hours at a stretch, sometimes performing through the night beneath streetlights that trick them into thinking dawn has arrived early. This restless, endlessly inventive songster reflects something distinctly southern about Arkansas, a place where storytelling and performance run just as deep as the roots of its forests. California. Along the coastal scrublands and oak-covered foothills of the Golden State, a small quail struts through the underbrush wearing what looks like a single black feather curling forward from its head like a tiny comma. The California quail earned its place as the official state bird in 1931, chosen for how common and beloved it had become in backyards and canyons across the region. These birds move in tight family groups called coveys, sometimes numbering in the dozens, and communicate constantly through soft clucking sounds as they forage together. Their sharp three-note call, often described as sounding like Kaisiego, rings out across California hillsides at dawn. Though quail rarely fly far, preferring to run from danger in short, low bursts, their loyalty to family groups and their instantly recognizable silhouette made them a natural symbol for a state that prizes both community and individuality in equal measure. Colorado. Across the wide open grasslands stretching east from the Rocky Mountains, a small sparrow undergoes one of the most dramatic transformations in the bird world each spring. The lark bunting begins the year dressed in dull, sandy brown, blending perfectly into dry prairie grass, but as breeding season arrives, the males turn almost entirely black, save for a striking white patch on each wing. Colorado adopted this bird in 1931, honoring a species that thrives specifically in the shortgrass plains covering the state's eastern half. Its song, delivered during high, fluttering flights above the grass, has been compared to a miniature symphony, blending trills, whistles, and buzzes into a single performance. Few visitors expect Colorado's official bird to live nowhere near its famous mountains, yet the lark bunting story is really about the quieter half of the state, the endless plains that stretch toward Kansas and often go unnoticed by the crowds heading for the peaks. Connecticut. When the last snow melts across New England's hills, one bird's return has long been treated as nature's official announcement that winter has finally ended. The American robin, with its rust-orange breast and cheerful, warbling song, became Connecticut's state bird in 1943, chosen in part because its reappearance each spring carried real emotional weight for people enduring long, grey winters. Robins are among the earliest birds to begin nesting, and a female can raise up to 3 broods in a single season if conditions stay favourable. They hunt earthworms using both sight and hearing, tilting their heads to listen for movement just beneath the soil before striking with precision. Though robins are common across most of the country, Connecticut's choice reflects something deeper than mere familiarity, a genuine cultural tradition of watching the skies each March for the first sign that the cold has finally loosened its grip. Delaware. Not every state bird has feathers built for flight through forests or across open sky, and Delaware's official choice never flies at all in any meaningful sense. The Delaware blue hen is a chicken, a fighting breed with roots stretching back to before the American Revolution, prized for its gray-blue plumage and famously aggressive temperament. According to state legend, Delaware soldiers carried game roosters with them during the war for entertainment between battles, and the birds fought with such ferocity that troops began calling themselves Blue Hen's Chickens, a nickname that eventually attached itself to the entire state. Delaware made the designation official in 1939, and today the blue hen appears on everything from University of Delaware sports jerseys to the state's official seal. Of all 50 states, only Delaware and one other chose a domesticated breed over a wild species, a decision rooted entirely in wartime pride rather than natural history. Florida. In the humid backyards and citrus groves of the Sunshine State, a gray and white bird with an extraordinary memory for melody claimed official status in 1927, years before Arkansas or Texas made the identical choice. The northern mockingbird thrives throughout Florida's varied landscapes, from suburban neighborhoods to the edges of the Everglades, and a single male can learn upward of 200 different songs over the course of its lifetime. Florida's early lawmakers were drawn to the bird's constant, energetic presence and its fierce devotion to defending territory, sometimes attacking birds many times its own size. Mockingbirds are also unusually intelligent when it comes to recognizing individual humans, remembering and specifically targeting people who have previously disturbed their nests. This blend of talent and tenacity made the mockingbird feel like a natural fit for a state defined by constant change, tropical storms, rapid growth, and a landscape that never stops adapting. Georgia. Hidden in the dense thickets and hedgerows of the Peach State lives a bird capable of an almost unbelievable musical feat, a repertoire estimated at more than 1,000 distinct song variations, believed to be the largest of any bird in North America. The brown thrasher, a reddish-brown relative of the mockingbird with a long, curved bill, became Georgia's official state bird in 1970, cementing a connection that residents had embraced informally since the 1930s. Unlike its showier cousin, the thrasher tends to stay low and hidden, foraging through leaf litter for insects rather than performing in the open. Its song often comes in pairs of phrases, as though the bird is asking a question and then answering itself. Georgia's selection celebrates a quieter kind of brilliance, a creature that prefers the shadows of the underbrush yet outsinks nearly every bird competing for attention in the open sky above it. Hawaii. On volcanic slopes where jagged lava rock stretches for miles, a strange-looking goose walks rather than swims, its feet only partially webbed after generations of evolving far from the open water most geese depend on. The nene, Hawaii's official state bird, descended from Canada geese that arrived on the islands roughly 500,000 years ago and slowly adapted to a life on land instead of lakes. By the 1950s, hunting and introduced predators had pushed the species to the edge of extinction, with fewer than 30 birds believed to remain in the wild. A dedicated conservation effort, involving captive breeding and careful reintroduction, pulled the nene back from the brink, and it now stands as one of the most celebrated wildlife recovery stories in American history. Naming it the state bird was never just about appearance. It was a declaration that Hawaii would not let one of its most unique creatures vanish without a fight. Idaho. Against the backdrop of the Sawtooth Mountains, a small thrush glows with a shade of blue so vivid it seems almost unnatural, closer to the color of a clear alpine sky than anything typically found on a bird. The mountain bluebird, adopted as Idaho's state bird in 1931, lacks the rusty orange breast of its eastern cousin, wearing instead a uniform coat of sky blue that deepens along its wings and tail. These birds hunt with remarkable precision, hovering briefly above meadows before dropping down to snatch insects from the grass below. Mountain bluebirds depend heavily on old woodpecker holes and nest boxes for shelter, since they lack the ability to excavate cavities themselves. Their population once declined sharply due to habitat loss, but volunteer-built nest box trails across Idaho and neighboring states have helped numbers recover significantly, turning the mountain bluebird into a rare example of a state symbol actively protected by the citizens who chose it.